Good afternoon, dear students. So, today is 28th October 2020 and still we are in the crisis of COVID-19. But through online, I have already completed 3 units, and in the previous class, I have told you about the concept, meaning and measurement of fertility. So today, dear students, I will deal with the fertility trends in less developed and developed countries. So while dealing with the measurement of fertility, I hope that you all understand about how to measure the fertility. And with that, you can see the trend of various countries. The trend of fertility, and that is very important when you are here to project the population in the coming years. So this is your today's topic, and I will deal with this topic. So let's start with, and again remind you that I have already told you about the birth rate, and that was the number of live births per 1,000 population in a given year. Already told you regarding the formula. And then second is growth rate of population. And what is that growth rate? The number of persons added to, or you can say subtract from, a population in a year due to natural increase and net migration. So overall, you can deal with growth rate of any country's population. Albeit this all I have told you. Again I am repeating for the sake of your memory that this is the general fertility rate dealing with per 1,000. There is age specific fertility rates, there is a total fertility rate, and there is child woman ratios. So this I have already dealt with, and I have sent you through PPT. So you just check it and then you go for the trend of the fertility rate. And dear students, just you see, when you're talking about the fertility rate of selected countries between 1970 and 2001, total fertility rate of 2070-2001 of this type of countries, that is called as developing nations, Bangladesh, Colombia, Indonesia, Jamaica, Mexico, Thailand, Zimbabwe, sourced by World Bank, you can see that in 1970, the fertility rate was 7.0 in Bangladesh, which was very high. And that halved to 3.3 in 2001. And again, when we will trace the latest data of 2011 or 2015, you will see that again decreased up to 2.8 or 2.9. So this is the data from which you can denote the trend. Colombia 5.3 to 2.6, Indonesia 5.5 to 2.7, Jamaica 5.3 to 2.4. Every country that halved their population. Mexico 4.9 to 2.8. Thailand 5.5 to 1.8. And Zimbabwe was high because from 7.7 only to 4.0. So this is how we can calculate the trends. And this is called as a replacement fertility. That means total fertility rate explores replacement fertility levels. We have to move towards the replacement fertility levels. That is 2.1. And a population with replacement fertility will stop growing the population. And so, in country like United States with low mortality rate, 2.1 total fertility rate is produced replacement level fertility, where as per Sierra Leone, total fertility rate should be greater than 3. So you can better compare with developed and developing nation. And then you can see this graph, important diagram. This shows the trend diagram of 2 developed nations, region, that is North America and Europe, 2 developed regions. Total fertility rate in Europe and USA. You can better compare. In y-axis, you can see there is a fertility rate denotes from minus 0.5 to 1.52, and we have narrated up to 4, expecting that fertility rate will be below the 4 in each and every developed nations. And in x-axis, time frame from 1950 to I have narrated here to 2005. You can better see the recent tables also and calculate this trend diagram. You can see in North America in 1950-55 the fertility rate was very high, that is more than 3.5, and but that in same period in 1950 the European fertility rate was only 2.7 or 2.8, because you all know the industrial revolution took place in Europe only, and that was the developed nation in 1950 and 55, and hence there was a low fertility rate, lower than North America. But again you can see from 50-55 to 60-65 and from 60 to 75 the fertility rate of North America down very steeply and moved towards near about replacement level, that is up to 2 in 70-75, and that is due to huge investment in human capital. And this trend you can see the European fertility rate trend is very gradually very slow, but the North American fertility rate is like Z shape, but still that is in lower grade. So you can compare two developed region through this diagram or through this trend line. Okay, so this is how you have to deal this question for the purpose of examination. And when you deal with the fertility rates in Asia, that is also very interesting. In Asia, there was China, Korea, Hong Kong, Japan. And there is also y-axis from 1 to 7% fertility rate, and x-axis denotes 60 to 2006 time period. You can see China was the highest fertility rate country in the year 2050 and 55. That is up to 6.2, and at that same period Korea was 5.3, Hong Kong was 4.2, and Japan was 2.8. So Japan was more developed in 1950 than Hong Kong, Korea and China when we are talking about the Asian countries. Okay, so you can see in 1950, and again you see through the huge investment and policy, China dipped their fertility rate from 6.2 to near about 2 fertility rate up to 2002 and 5. So this trend is an interesting trend, and this should be learning point for India also. If each and every country is decreasing as per their fertility rate, but China and Hong Kong is decreasing much steeper than compare of Korea and Japan. So dear students, you can deal this question, compare with developed and developed nations and compare within Asia, then you can observe this type of trend diagrams and this type of fertility trends. Okay, and this is also some countries showing the European countries, France, Germany, Spain. Every European countries are decreasing trend as per fertility trend. Okay, and this is you can trace at tables from various sources of World Bank or World Population Reports, and then you can trace from that tables 2 or 3 countries of each region, and you can draw the table. And when you see the European fertility rates in 2001, you can see France, Denmark, Finland, Netherlands. You can see TFR is the children per woman. In France, there was 1.90 in 2001 fertility TFR. In Denmark, it is only 1.74. In Finland, it is only 1.73. In Netherlands, it is only 1.69. And when you talk about Italy, there is the lowest TFR, that is 1.24. So in each European country, TFR is very low, just below the replacement level. So this story suggests that in developed nations, fertility rate is down, and still in the developing nations, still fertility rate is upper than total replacement level. So dear students, this is the trend which you have to study, and you can also denote it as a fertility decline by age groups. You can also see this, and when you talk about the regions, then you can see the less developed region is still growing. Population is still growing, and more developed regions is almost parallel to x-axis. So when we project up to 2050 population, you can see more developed regions is stable population, and less developed region is a growing population. So this is the difference between developed and more developed regions, developing and developed nations. And better you can suggest that in less developed region, still we have to work for the lower fertility rate, and that should be get through growth or get through development process. Okay, so this is how the natural increase. You can see the blue one is a birth rate decline and black one is a mortality rate decline. So dear student, this is how we can talk about the topic of trends of fertility diagram. And when we will talk about the factors affecting the fertility rates, then dear students, I will just tell you what are the factors affecting the population growth rates. So because there is a one topic also, factors affecting fertility and mortality, but here I will tell you only the factors affecting the fertility rate. So very speedily I will tell you all those factors which affects the fertility rates. The first is religion and culture. We all know some religions promotes large families, and also some cultures a big family is a sign of status. This we can very much witness in India also. Second is economic value of children. Some countries schooling not compulsory and children work in homes, and they can work from 3 years old. No state pensions, so rely on children for financial security in old age. This is story of poor population or poor nations, because in poor families, in poor class, they have children, they use children as a productive one, because every children work after age of 5 and they are unorganized workers, and that is a very sad side of the development story. So this is also affecting the fertility. And third is age structure, raised when there is a high proportion of people in the reproductive age or migrants, just like India. India has a high reproductive age. All the major population is up from 14 to 49, and that is the exact reproductive age. We all know while studying the measurement. Okay, so another is education and contraception. This is very important, which affect the fertility. Awareness of birth control and benefits of fewer children. And next is access to contraception. Now many countries providing family planning services. Nigeria can be 3 hours to nearest clinic. So this is a great concern. And next is status of women. Some societies see a woman's duty to bear children and are considered worthless until they fulfill their role. So status of women also affect the fertility. In the country where the status of women are low, fertility rate is high. You can see in India, in the rural background, the low level of status of women translate more fertility in the rural area of the India. So we have to focus on the status of women through women empowerment schemes. And next is education of women. In medium developed countries, women who are educated tend to pursue a career first and family life second. So this is a very much important tools which affects the fertility rates. And last but not least is political policies. We all know in 60s China adopted one child policy, and that affected the fertility rate of China. But India, as this is a democratic pattern of society, we can't suggest such type of policy. So we have to think of alternative population policy, but our target should be how to reduce the population in our country also. So, but at least, dear students, I will said that economic factors are the most important factor for the fertility rate, because we all know the level of economic development means higher development is equal to lower birth rate. You can see the country in a higher development position have a lower birth rate, and even in India, the developed states have a lower birth rates. So this is the things we have to study. And second, developed world kids are expensive. That's why in developed nations, fertility rates are down. And small families means that is equal to increased standard of living. And in hard times, people have less kids to maintain standard of living. So developed world's kids are expensive. That's why in developed regions, fertility rates are low. And third, high cost of raising or educating kids in incentives to have small families. So this is the very major factors which we have to learn from these slides. So next I will tell about the mortality, but here I am stopping while saying that I have told you today the trends, fertility trends of developed and developing nations, how to compare these trends, and second, what are the various factors which affects the fertility. And that's all of today's class. Thank you very much for your kind attention.